All right, there's millions of people out there gambling their future Social Security checks right now. And unfortunately, those people that are gambling their Social Security checks in the future, so they could lose tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars over their lifetime. And unfortunately, they are also gambling with your Social Security checks. If you're not the ones gambling, then they're gambling your future Social Security checks based on, we're going to talk about this today. So we're going to talk about exactly how that's happening, how that will affect you, and a solution. So we'll talk about that. I've got actually a solution. So we're going to talk about the alleged 275,000 people kicked off of Social Security rolls. If you're new to my channel, I ran the third busiest Social Security office in the country, and I kind of know a little bit about the internal workings of Social Security, and so I'm going to do a little fact check here and show you exactly how people are gambling their Social Security checks. And I'm going to tell you the super easy way. Elon Musk wasn't able to find any real money in Social Security in terms of fraud, waste, and abuse. He made a bunch of allegations, but really didn't find anything. Yes, there is fraud, waste, and Social Security employees find it every single day. But I'm going to tell you how to fix this problem and save $50 billion. Super easy fix, super easy fix. So I'll get into all of that today. This is also a live Q&A, so if you have any questions about all things Social Security, retirement, disability benefits, Medicare, Medicaid, make sure you type it in the chat or comments or make a video. I've got some video questions as well, so we'll get into that. Okay, so where did this all start? This all started with the president, Frank Bisignano, the current commissioner of Social Security, visited the White House, part of the 90th anniversary of Social Security. Yes, 90th anniversary. It's been around here for 90 years, since 1935, hasn't missed a check. So that's pretty awesome, but that's not necessarily going to be what's going to happen in the future if we keep gambling on this misinformation. Okay, so let's see where it starts right here. We'll get into the president mentioning these 275,000.
Protect our benefits. We've already kicked nearly 275,000 illegal aliens off of the Social Security system. These are people, many of them have already left the country, and yet we were sending them checks all the time. And 275,000, and that number is now even larger than that, Frank. It's an unbelievable job. And what that's doing is making the system strong. It's making it strong. Biden never kicked anybody off. Everybody joined. And we're carrying out historic deportations to remove many more illegals committing Social Security fraud. It's the Social Security fraud that was taking place at levels that nobody's ever seen.
Okay, so 275,000 people kicked off of Social Security. They were not receiving Social Security benefits. In order to receive Social Security benefits, you have to be in the country legally. That is the law. You can go into the POMS reference. POMS is the Program Operations Manual System that Social Security employees use to administer the law. There's over 20,000 pages. This is one of the reasons I do this channel, is because there's 20,000 pages and there's exceptions, exceptions. People aren't getting the benefits they're eligible for, retirement benefits, spouse benefits, independently entitled divorce spouse benefits, disabled widow benefits, auxiliary child. And there's so many different, so that's why I do this channel, if you're new to my channel. So this POMS, and how do I know? I've done this millions of times. If you come into the Social Security Administration, they ask you, your ID, their Social Security number. They ask you a bunch of questions. They look at your numadent, which is your actual Social Security number, the internal record of your Social Security number, and it has your name, and it has your date of birth, it has when you were first issued that Social Security card, any name changes you had, it has your father's name, it has your mother's and your mother's maiden name in there, and that's the numadent. And they didn't specifically say what this 275,000 people off the Social Security rolls, but this is the same thing that Elon Musk said. That, remember the whole thing about 120-year-old people receiving Social Security benefits, 200-year-old people. This is the record they're looking at. Do you know how much money comes out of that particular database? It's called the numadent. You know how much money comes out of that since 1935? $0. $0. No money is ever paid from that Social Security database. So when someone says, we cleaned up the Social Security database, you know they're not telling the truth, because there is no such thing as Social Security database. There is Social Security databases. There are several. You got the Numident, you got the MBR, you've got the SID, you've got PCAX, you've got MDR, the MDW, you've got a whole bunch of different databases. eView, EDCS, it just goes on and on and on. So in terms of what he's talking about, 275,000, in terms of the millions of people over 120 years old that Elon Musk was talking about, they are talking about that database, the Social Security database. And what are we talking about? Undocumented immigrants receiving that. So let's say, for instance, you have a company and you bring in workers from outside of the country because you just don't want to hire local people because local people that live in that community are too expensive and you don't want to hire anybody. Let's say the name of your company is Mar-a-Lago or Trump International or Tesla. And you can look on the INS website, the immigration website, and you can see that that's exactly what they do. So they bring these people in, as well as hundreds of other companies throughout the country. They bring these people in to hire, to work at their, casinos and, golf clubs and restaurants and hotels and Tesla factories and whatever the case may be. They work there, but they're only under temporary visas to work for however many years. So once they get their Social Security numbers, because they have to pay taxes, right? So they're in the country legally, they get their Social Security numbers, and then after a year, 2 years, 3 years, they leave the country. So their visas run out and they leave the country. But the Social Security number still keeps those numbers active as a record. They don't recycle those numbers and give it to anybody else because, Social Security has enough Social Security numbers. They don't need to do that. So those Social Security numbers are just sitting there dormant. And when he's saying you kicked 275,000, he just closed out, or whatever the case may be, those Social Security numbers, and which makes zero relevance. So he also mentioned that that's going to solve Social Security. And here's the issue that people are gambling on. They hear Elon Musk saying, hey, we're going to kick, tens of millions of people off of, these people over 120 years old. So we kick tens of millions of people off. I did the calculation. That would have been, $1 trillion or something that supposedly he saved. How much have you heard any numbers? No, you haven't, because he was looking at the wrong database. So zero was found out of that. 275,000 people supposedly kicked off of Social Security that are receiving benefits. Yeah, no. It's illegal. I mean, somebody might have gone in there, Social Security, but that's illegal to do that. And what happens is when you go into Social Security, they check everything. If you have a green card, they check the green card. It's called, they go through the SAVE system. So the Social Security employee looks at the green card and then goes through the computer system, the Social Security computer system, which matches it with immigration to confirm that is, in fact, this person is in the country legally. And obviously, in terms of retirement benefits and disability benefits, you actually had to be working in the country for X amount of years, retirement 10 years, in order to get those benefits in the first place. So Social Security has to go through all those processes. Does it happen sometimes that somebody cheats the system and, pretends to be someone else? Yes. But eventually those people are caught because the actual person comes in. That's why I always recommend set up a SSA.gov, go into SSA.gov, set up a My Social Security account. But because that way, if you do that, if someone else in the country starts to use your Social Security number illegally and pay wages, and you're like, cool, they're paying wages, and that means my benefit amount is going to go up. Yes, it will. Until it doesn't, until they catch that person. Because if you go in there and collect Social Security benefits and you are collecting benefits and someone else paid into that on your Social Security number, you're probably saying, oh, I get extra money. Cool. Eventually that person will get caught, and then they will come back to you and say, hey, those weren't your earnings. We've been paying you too much for 10 years. Pay us all that money back. So you're in a world of hurt at that time. So please go into SSA.gov, set up a My Social Security account, and monitor it every now and then to make sure someone isn't, playing funny with your Social Security number. And so the people that are gambling us, and Social Security is going to be cut by 2033. Right now, you have 89 more checks. 89 more checks. If you're receiving Social Security, you, your friends, family, parents, relatives, whoever are receiving checks, whatever they're receiving, they got 89 more of those. And then the 90th check, it's going to be cut by 23%. Why? Because politicians and us have failed us for 40 years and failed to resolve the trust fund issue. And it wasn't stolen. That's another myth. So all of these myths, including the 275,000 people that were receiving checks, they weren't receiving checks. They were in a database that doesn't pay checks. They would just clean up the records and say they saved money. The millions of people over 200 years old receiving Social Security check wasn't a fact. So the problem with this, so how you're gambling your future Social Security is you're saying, oh, okay, I heard that Social Security is going to have issues and my check is going to get cut in a few years here. But Elon Musk found trillions of dollars. So I guess I'm good. So I don't need to do anything. I can just go about my business. I don't need to call my politicians and tell them to do their job. I heard President Trump found $275,000 people that are receiving benefits illegally. And he said that's shoring up the trust fund. It ain't. It's not adding one day to the trust fund. So, but I trust him, and therefore I'm not going to do anything. You're gambling your Social Security check. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if that's the gamble you want to take on your Social Security check, then, I mean, I guess we really can't do anything. But you're also gambling with everybody else's Social Security check, because we need everybody to join together and reach out to their politicians and finally fix Social Security to make sure it does get addressed in the future. Okay, here's my solution. Every Social Security employee knows this solution. It's super, super easy. We don't need to spend $50 billion on a border wall. We don't need to send out ICE to invade cities. You know how you fix the whole issue of undocumented immigrants working in the United States? Super simple. It's called EVerify. Super simple. EVerify. When an employer hires an employee, if you ever were hired, you know you have to fill out the I-9 form, and you have to provide your Social Security number or the ITIN, which is a temporary number some people get. You have to provide documentation to your employer, and your employer keeps that on file. So the employer is supposed to check to make sure you are in this country legally and you're able to work. Employers don't do this. Don't do it correctly. Turned a blind eye. So what we need to do is clamp down on the lawyers, right? If we, or excuse me, the owners of these businesses, or lawyers anyway, the owners of these businesses, if the owners of the businesses feel that, okay, hey, if I fill out this form incorrectly, if I don't actually check, then, you know, I could be fined. My business could be closed down. I could be fined. I could be thrown in jail. That'll end immigration. But one of the problems is employers, they see the documents, but they're not experts in, you know, documents and stuff like that. What they're supposed to do, well, not what they're supposed to do. This is the issue. In some states, I've got the wrong graphic up there. Let me pull up there we go. Sorry about that. In some states, in these states, it's required, EVerify. So if you're an employer in these particular states, like in Alabama, if you have one or more employees, in Alabama, you have to check this EVerify system. It's through Social Security and also interacts with immigration to confirm that you're in the country legally. Guess what? EVerify is not mandated nationally. Why? Why? Well, we know why. Chamber of Commerce and politicians who say they're going to be hard on immigrants and stuff like that, they just want to, you know, sound and fury. They just want to pretend like they're tough on immigration, and spend billions of dollars of our money building big walls and, you know, pounding their chest or whatever the case may be. But the solution is easy. Make employers that don't check this stuff and accountable. And make the EVerify system mandated, required nationwide. A stroke of the pen. Pass it in the House of Representatives, pass it in Congress, president signs it, immigration issue solved. Done. Super, super easy. The EVerify system probably needs to be updated a little bit, make it more stringent if more people start using it, but it's not mandated. In Alabama, it's mandated. So, but some of these places like Utah, if 15 more employees, if you have 15 more employees, you have to use EVerify, but there's zero penalties if you don't. So yeah, some of these places, it's why we don't use it. It's unbelievable why. And Social Security employees know this. when sometimes the EVerify system is incorrect. Some people might have, had this issue. They go in there and your employer is a good employer and they check their EVerify and it says, hey, it's called a mismatch. For some reason, your name and social security number and all that information didn't come out correctly. You need to go down to the local social security office and figure this thing out. Usually it's just, you got married and or name change or something like that, or the date of birth, your parents put it in correctly when you were born or something like that. So you just go down to Social Security and say, hey, I have a EVerify mismatch, and they will bring you in and they will fix it, and then it updates in the system and your employer can go ahead and hire you. I just saved $50 billion plus, and no more invasion of ICE in the cities and all the rest of it. Super, super easy. And why isn't it done? Well, I don't think I need to tell regular viewers why it isn't done, because politicians don't want it to be done. So this guy is partisan. So one in Howard. I'm political, not partisan. Both houses, left, Republican, left, right, Republican, Democrat, they have all failed us for 40 years. If either one of those parties would have stepped up and solved it, our checks wouldn't be cut by 23%. So no, absolutely not. I'm political, which is completely different than partisan. But anyway, maybe that's what you mean. I don't know. All right. So, and then I've got another video that's, and this is kind of the crazy stuff. You've probably seen this one of Elon Musk a while ago, talking about social security numbers, non-citizens. This is. I have this listed on my computer as Abbott and Costello, who's on first. So let's watch this video back in Wisconsin.
You'll notice there's a strange trend here, where how many Social Security numbers were issued. Do you want to?
Yeah. So let me tell you what happened here. We started at the top of the system.
This is he was the CEO for Tesla, the car part of Elon Musk's empire.
I want to talk about a lot of it.
We started at the top of the system, mapping the whole system of Social Security to understand where all the fraud was. And there's a lot of great people there that showed us really a lot of waste. And so that came up with a big list of stuff they're working on. You've heard some of that already. But this is what jumped out at us. When we saw these numbers, we were like, what is this? In 21, you see 270,000 people, goes all the way to 2.1 million in 24. These are non-citizens that are getting Social Security numbers.
Yeah, this is a mind-blowing chart.
Yeah, just this literally blew us away. Like, we went there to find fraud, and we found this by accident. And this isn't political, by the way. My parents are immigrants. Yeah, this country's been great to us. My brother and sister all born in Spain. I'm pro-legal immigration. This is not political. This is not political.
So he just said his family are immigrants to this country, and then when they came over, they didn't come over on the plane or the boat, U.S. citizens. They came over as non-citizens. So if they wanted to work, and they had to get a Social Security number and pay taxes. So his family got a Social Security number as non-citizens. And Elon Musk, I don't think he was born in Tennessee, Texas. Oh, I think it was South Africa. Yes. So he came over as an immigrant from Canada. He moved to Canada first and then came down to the United States. And he came over as an immigrant and to work and to, make his billions of dollars. He got a Social Security number as a non-citizen. So yes, non-citizens get Social Security. But wow, it's amazing. And then it's interesting. They start the chart at 2021. And why did all of it go up all of a sudden? There's this thing called the pandemic. And so people weren't coming during the pandemic. And so it was very, very low. And then when we started to recover a little bit, people started coming to the United States for, we used to have people come down to Social Security Administration all the time for students. Work authorized, they come to the local university and they were authorized to work at the library or at the, at the chow hall, or well, it's not a chow hall. Anyway, it's the old Marine Corps term. But they were allowed to work. And so they got a Social Security number, a temporary Social Security number. And those are the numbers that, again, same type of situation. You come over here, go to school, you get a Social Security number, work authorized, Social Security number, and then the person graduates, go back to wherever the country they're from, and their Social Security number is still there. And, so that could very well be part of the 275,000, but it's not receiving Social Security benefits. So yeah, this is, Every time I want to chuckle, I watch that that little video of those, Mutt and Jeff, Abbott and Costello, and they never come out and been men about it and say, oh yeah, okay, yes, Elon Musk, yeah, come on, own up to the fact that you made a mistake. We all make mistakes, but own up to it. Okay, let's go ahead and get into some questions here. Let's see what we got. They cannot kick off legal Americans who worked all their life. They cannot do that no matter how bad they want to do it, exactly that. Well, yeah, it can't kick off people. Were we talking about Social Security? They can cut benefits. It's required. Social Security can only pay out what it has. So when the Social Security Trust Fund runs out, and people, again, this is another one of those myths that people are gambling on. That's true. They're gambling their Social Security check. And there are people out there, they're gambling their future Social Security checks by some politician telling them that, oh, the trust fund was stolen. I've been looking for it for 20 or 30 years. And once I find it, I'll put it back in there and everything will be hunky-dory. And people are gambling that that's true. And it's not. And politicians are basically distracting us, and we're buying it. A lot of people are buying it, and they're not reaching out to their politicians and tell them, hey, we need to do what we need to do. So another benefit of creating my Social Security account is that you can download a benefit verification letter that says in writing that no claim has been made nor one in progress as of date. Exactly. There's so much thing. I don't care how old you are. You should set up a SSA.gov, set up a My Social Security account. And because that's in lieu of all of, in the old days, Social Security used to send you that statement out once a year, and people, never really did. A lot of people didn't do what they were supposed to do. They're supposed to look at that and confirm their earnings. That's the most important thing about that, because this happens every single day. People leave comments and come in here to live Q&A and say, hey, I've got earnings from 10 years ago that, I think are questionable, or it's zero, and I know I worked that year. How do I fix it? Well, you might have to refile your taxes, or you might have to get those taxes and, notify the IRS or bring those to Social Security if you actually paid. And maybe they're in what's called a suspense file. And you just go in there, you show your proof and everything like that. Oh, okay, here's your earnings. Your employer, mistyped the number, your Social Security number is 12 at the end instead of 21. And so, okay, here's your earnings, and they correct it. But it's so much easier if you do that sooner rather than later. If you wait for 10 or 20 years to get that corrected, then you just might lose money for the rest of your life. So it's important. Tell everybody once they do their taxes in April, whatever, tell your kids or nieces or nephews and say, well, did you finish your taxes? Oh yeah. Well, did you really finish? Remember, the last step is to make sure Social Security gets the correct benefit amount. So let's see, my mother-in-law gets spousal benefit. Okay, good. If you commit a felony or fraud, you can get kicked off as well. That is a fact. If you're in jail, your Social Security ends. But once you get out of jail, paid your dues, then your Social Security will restart. So, and you actually have to be convicted. We used to get people in our town get thrown in the drunk tank all the time. And that doesn't stop your benefits, because it's not, unless you're actually convicted and staying in there for, so there's different categories. If you're putting in for Social Security and need to file for DS, do you have to have a disability claim open before you start your regular Social Security? DS, still disabled spouse, are we talking about? Disabled benefits? So you can file for disability benefits and spouse benefits, or retirement benefits and disability benefits at the same time. It's called a RIB-DIB. I'm so frazzled by all this misinformation out there, I guess. Anyway, so you can file for disability benefits, and if you're 62 years old, or 60 if you're filing for survivor benefits, then you can also file for those benefits as well. Why would you do both? And you're not going to get both checks, full checks. You'll get the higher benefit. If your disability is approved, that's usually the higher benefit. And why do people do that? Is because it takes months and months and months and months to get your disability approved, and people need, that money in the meantime. So they file for retirement benefits to start that money coming. So Paying for 40 years only to fight for it, and it's given away to someone who never paid in, but they can keep track of a lot of monies. Yeah, it's not given to people. Again, that's another myth that you're betting your Social Security check on misinformation. So, well, I got to correct myself. So Social Security money is given to people that do not pay in. If you were married to someone and you stayed home and took care of the family and all that kind of stuff, you didn't pay into Social Security. And your spouse files for benefits, you're eligible for benefits on that record. If your spouse passes away, you're entitled to benefits on that record, even if you didn't pay in because your spouse paid in. If you're a child under the age 18 and you lose your parent, yes, you can get benefits even if you didn't pay in. So is that what you're talking about? That's legal. So, but the other thing, incorrect. You have to pay into Social Security. And that's the thing. The whole 275,000, whatever, kicking people out of the country, that's actually going to hurt your check, hurt Social Security, because it's been shown that people that are working in this country, illegally, they still get Social Security number, fake Social Security number, or they get an ITIN. It's a temporary number that the IRS gives them so they can pay taxes. And they do pay taxes, including FICA, Social Security, and Medicare taxes. And that money goes into Social Security and Medicare. It's estimated that $30 billion every year is paid in. And those people will never get it back unless they change their status later and become legal residents. So they're basically donating. So thank you very much for the donating. Same thing with students that come over here temporarily, to study. They come over to the country for 4 years, study, graduate, go back to the country. All that money that they donate to pay into FICA, they won't get back because they're not legal residents. So that's another donation. So I'm new here. Can I schedule a consultation? I don't do any consultations anymore, but I have a retired Social Security employee, MAI, that she does, and she is phenomenal. She worked for decades as well at Social Security, and she does. So just go into my description there, the video, go on the website, and you can schedule an appointment with her. So Joe Biden led in 20 million illegal aliens in 4 years. How are we supposed to combat that? Okay, yeah. With the truth. Let's see here. How is that an illegal is getting our benefits? They're not. Again, you're betting your Social Security check. I thought they were for those who paid into the system or disabled. You're correct. They don't get it. It's in the policy. You're not eligible for benefits if you're not in this country legally. So let's see. I'm a non-citizen. I get Social Security. Yep. So you're in the country legally. Don't have to be a citizen in the United States. You just have to be a legal resident in the United States, green card. You had to pay into the system. Yep. As long as you fulfill all your requirements, more power to you. I even worked 23 years for an airline. There you go. I'm a resident. What kind of BS are they talking about? Thanks for exposing it. Yep. My father was born in Canada, and he worked in the United States as a long-distance truck driver for decades. He just so busy, he never got around to doing the naturalization until essentially the day he passed away. He finally decided, I've lived in America most of my life. I want to pass away as an American. So he finally got people that we got his set up his naturalization and everything. And the INS immigration was just awesome. They came out and raised his right hand on his deathbed. It was awesome. He always said in his previous life, he used to punch cows in West Texas. So, but anyway, hi Ed, the 89 remaining checks can change, right? Variability in workforce total, up and down, average pay, mortality rate, disability rate. Yes, it changes. It changes on a regular basis, and it's going to change a lot, and for the worse next year. So this is based on the Social Security Trustees report that just came out earlier this month or last month, and that's what they said. There's a Congressional Budget Office that said it's even actually worse, but I went with the trustees. And with the tariffs, that's going to decrease. With kicking, all these immigrants out that pay into Social Security, that's going to hurt. Yeah, it's going to go down. So when I do this next year, it's not going to be minus 12 months for being 12 months away. I think it's going to be a lot more, unfortunately. So when will Wall Street be managing the trust fund on behalf of Social Security beneficiaries? hopefully our community here believes never. So eliminate the income cap on Social Security tax. Yes, that is the #1 solution to fixing it, is having everybody included. If you're making $5 million a year, you're only paying you're not paying Social Security FICA tax like the rest of us. Anything over $176,100, you no longer pay Social Security tax on. We pay it on every dollar we make. But according to the cost of living, even to rent an apartment, Social Security be 3 times what we get. Yeah, it's that's how they figure out the the federal poverty level is basically 3 times how much the food, and it's been around for decades and decades. That's how they consider whether you're poor or not. Is they take how much you would need to survive, eat, and they multiply that times 3, and that's the poverty level. So the poverty level is, like $1,000 or $1,400. It's just crazy. So I called my politicians and told them to remove the cap to fix Social Security. Awesome. We just need everybody else. And I'm going to do a video on this this week or so. All these states are looking at gerrymandering. Gerrymandering has been around for a while. It looks like it's getting worse. But the great thing about Social Security is gerrymandering doesn't mean anything for Social Security and Medicare. Because if you look at the numbers, everybody across the board, I'm trying to find my little chart here that shows that we've got massive support. Over 80% of people, well, it's kind of like, 3 out of 4 dentists say you should brush your teeth type thing. 80% of people believe they shouldn't get their Social Security checks cut. So I think everybody that gets their Social Security checks, whether it's retirement, survivor, disability, whatever the case may be, I'm thinking everybody, 99% of people saying, yeah, no, I shouldn't get my Social Security check cut by 23%. So yeah, there's that. Is this guy AI? Every time I see him, he just doesn't look real. If I was AI, I would definitely 100% add some hair to that head. Come on. So, would anybody in their right mind AI this? Come on, Barbara. Come on. Is Bella the official hostess? Yes, she is the concierge, I guess. Yes, absolutely. Yes, and she's doing an awesome job, as a lot of other people are doing an awesome job. So, BS, my company hired 75% of the workforce is now illegal immigrants. Many older ones receive benefits and a paycheck, so you're misleading. Okay, no, that's incorrect. If they're in the country legally, they do collect Social Security benefits, and they don't have to be citizens as long as they paid into Social Security and then they're in the country legally. You might not agree with whatever status they're in. That's usually the issue. It's like, oh, I don't agree with that particular, but it's a law. The Congress said those particular, it's like, I got out of the Marine Corps just before the first Iraqi war. But I know a lot of my Marines went over there. And they have told me people, that were translators and stuff like that, the Afghani translators, Iraqi translators, who lost their lives. And we did the compassionate thing. Your husband, the father of your children, lost lives helping us Marines out. And now you're kind of destitute. So they let those people come into the country, into the United States. And we're helping them out. So I think that's good. You might disagree with that and say, oh no, that's, whatever. But that is the fact. If they are in the country legally, whether you agree with it or not, if they have legal status, and they paid into Social Security for 10 years and all that, then they can get it. So, and the whole thing is, I always think that's funny. Immigrants stole my job. Well, you need to stop working for undocumented immigrants. And it's like, well, I don't work for an undocumented immigrant, but an undocumented immigrant took the job I had. Well, they didn't take it. It wasn't theirs to take. That was your boss's, the company owner. That was that person's job. Nobody stole it. Your company boss decided it's cheaper to pay someone that's, I guess, not in the country legally, or someone else. They decided they will make more money by giving your job to someone else. So it wasn't taken from you by some, undocumented or immigrant or whatever the case may be. It was your owner fired you and then decided to give it to someone else to make more money. So the whole thing about, immigrants stole my job. I always thought that was kind of funny. My daughter at 15 was denied after her dad died. If you have a daughter that is under the age of 18 and had a parent that passed away, then they should definitely collect benefits if the father was eligible for benefits. So the only way that could happen, if you had proof that that was the person's child. So the only way that person can be denied, that daughter can be denied, is if the parent wasn't eligible, wasn't in the country legally, or didn't pay enough into Social Security. So that is the only way. If the deceased parent did pay into Social Security and all that stuff, then you need to file an appeal. And how you do that is you go onto my website, and I've got a section there. I've got all things retirement survivor benefits. And someone asked me about talking to someone one-on-one. This is where you schedule that appointment. And this is the only thing we charge for, is that one. But everything else is free. You click on the appeals there, and it gives you the appeals process. So in that case, you request a request for reconsideration, and here's the form right there. Let me click, make sure the link still works. And there it is. Super, super easy. And I've also got a video question. Somebody asked me about this form, so let me take a little minute. So anytime you're denied anything from Social Security and you disagree with it, please, 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 please appeal it. It doesn't matter if Social Security, disability, retirement, survivor benefits, Medicare, Medicaid, food stamp, I don't care. Medicare Advantage, prior authorization, appeal, 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 appeal. Always fight it. So this is how you fight it with Social Security, the first level. It's a request for reconsideration. Super, super, super easy. Put in your name, Social Security number, and the claim number is different. So your daughters would be the claimant. So you put in the claimant Social Security number, and the claim number is the parent's Social Security number. And you just put in there, super, super easy. It's only got a few lines there, or you can, put in an extra piece of paper if you want more, to give more detail, and just put right here, see attached. And that's pretty much it. You put your name and then you just put the case review. Forget all that other garbage, and forget all this junk down there. Just put in your name, address, phone number, and stuff like that, and then make a copy of it, give it to Social Security, and they will check out the case. If in your terms of your daughter, if they determine like a year, 2 years ago, they made the wrong decision, then they better go back and give you that year or 2 years of retroactivity. So how do you get naturalized? Yeah, if you're coming to this country legally and you, 7 years now, I think, then yeah, you put in for naturalization and you do the whole thing. And but don't lose that naturalization certificate, because yeah, those are hundreds of dollars to get a replacement. So, yep. And once you become naturalized, our office and all offices throughout the country used to, they don't do it anymore, but they used to go down to the naturalization ceremonies. And when you become naturalized, it's always a good idea to update your Social Security card from, whatever, green card, status you were in, to update your Social Security number. You don't get a new Social Security number or anything like that. They just update it internally that now you are a U.S. citizen. So illegal immigrants don't pay into Social Security. Come on, man. Yep, they do every single day. Yep, $30 billion. They work under false Social Security numbers, or they work under what's called an ITIN that the IRS issues for those people that don't have Social Security numbers. Because, the IRS doesn't care about why you're in this country. Their job is to collect taxes. So if you have someone, those farm workers or whatever that are in the, the sanctuary farms that President Trump has started, that, if you're in a hospitality or farm and it's like, oh yeah, we're not going to mess with you people. Those people possibly under ITIN, some under Social Security numbers, some under ITN, a temporary kind of identification number. And they pay into Social Security. Yep, 100% true. That is a fact. And we used to have people come down all the time and, they say, hey, I paid into Social Security for many, many, many years. Can I get Social Security now that I'm, 62 years old? And so then look and says, well, we need this, we need this, we need your, U.S. citizenship, naturalization, your green card. And they say, well, I'm still not in this country legally. And so I say, I'm sorry. Thank you for the donation, though. And that's all we can do. So. We need to bust the cap if it had been done years ago at all. Yeah, if the cap had been blown out years ago, then yeah, we would not have any issues with Social Security in the future. So first, a despicable neighbor lied on her and reported that she was not disabled, but I will attest that she is. So she was taken off SSDI without warning, no letter, no warning, no chance to appeal. Yeah, no, that's, you have she just didn't exercise her appeal rights. She 100%. And this happens a lot. People, people love to, anyway, they see someone on disability and they say that person's working, so they're scamming the system. No. If you're on disability, you're allowed to work, very limited, under $1,620. That's the law. You might not agree with it, but that's the law. And the first 9 months, you can make as much as you want, because we want people to try to go back to work if they're able to. So there's work incentives that Congress has established. You might not agree with it, but that is the thing. So we used to get people like that all the time. And, the neighbor or something says, oh yeah, this person next door, the lady down the street, she's receiving disability and she's working. So they notified Social Security and we investigate, and 70-80% of the time, it turns out that person is in their trial work period and they're allowed to. That person is working but making under $1,620, or they're in their APE, or yeah. So, but yeah, 30% of the time, then yeah, it turns out to be a fraud issue, and we send them all the stuff, and then we say, hey, we found out that you're not, in fact, that you're disabled, you are working, so you owe us 2 years of back pay. And so yeah, that happens all the time. And I have found a lot more fraud, waste, and abuse than Elon Musk did at Social Security. Guarantee it. Every Social Security employee out there that has worked more than 5 or 10 years has found more fraud, waste, and abuse than Elon Musk did. So for Social Security. So that's what's embarrassing. So if your neighbor is in fact still disabled, she needs to file that appeal, that request for reconsideration. Please, help her. Go onto my website, do that. It's SSA 561, request for reconsideration. Please help her out. That's what we do in our communities. We help people exactly like that. So Jay Wells, we are looking for you to stand up and help that person. And if you have any questions, make sure you go on to my website. Let me show it here. Go on to my website, and I'm about to show some of these questions here in a little bit. Let me show here. Okay, you see, so if you go help your neighbor there, and if you've got any specific questions, because I've got hundreds of questions here in the chat, so it's impossible for me to answer everybody. But we all love these video questions. So that way, people don't have to stare at me. So anyway, we love to see people ask questions. So click on this little phone thingy, or this little camera icon there, and then you'll have 2 minutes to ask your question. So if you have an issue filing for the appeal and you have a specific question about how to file it, or tricks, tips, tricks, and secrets and stuff that are not answered in the section on the appeals, please make a video of it, and I answer those the very next day, because we love those video questions. And speaking of, let's go ahead and answer some of those right now.
Hey, it's Lawrence Bowman from Maryland. Federal government worker. My wife's federal government worker. We just both benefited from the WEP and other government pension offset laws that eliminated that. I went into Social Security. They said, well, now I'm bumping up against a maximum family allowance. I was going to file Social Security under my wife's income because she had more than I did. But because they gave her a raise, she's used up the maximum family benefit. Social Security did not raise the maximum family benefit. when they changed the law to eliminate WEP and GPO. I think they screwed up. Maybe somebody can figure that one out.
Okay, yeah, that doesn't sound right at all. Because when you raise the PIA because of the Social Security Fairness Act that was passed, then the family max increases anyway. But it doesn't. I don't think it matters because it sounds like it's only you and your wife. So the only time a family max really comes into play is when you got children or something like that. So you didn't mention that, so I don't think family max shouldn't be relevant at all. I think you just probably talk to the person at the front desk, the customer service representatives, which I'll never talk bad about because they're the hardest working, least paid people in Social Security, but they're not experts in Title II, which is what you're looking at, Title II of the Social Security Act, retirement benefits to PIA. So you need to talk to a Title II CS. Before I became manager, I was a Title II CS, claim specialist, and actually file a claim. And then, that's wrong. That should not be it. If there's some type of glitch in there that for some reason when they increased her primary insurance amount because of the repeal of the WEP and the GPO, then that's just some type of internal glitch. This is the first time I've heard about, but that's not relevant. Then tell the CS that they need to do an A101, which is a manual action, a manual calculation, or it might be an EF 101 now, but just tell them, hey, if the system doesn't do it automatically, then you need to do a 101, and they will freak out and say, oh my gosh, this person knows what they're talking about. So I guess I have to make sure I know what I'm talking about. So, all right, let's see what else we got here. I think this next person is shy.
If I retire at 62, how much will I lose in my retirement?
30%. Yep. If you're talking about retirement benefits on your own record, then if you file at the earliest 62 years old rather than your full retirement age, it's a 30% reduction. So easy, easy, easy.
Hello, Dr. Ed. My name is Alexandra. I live here in the state of California. My veteran son in July just passed away. He had PTSD. He didn't get enough services from the VA. And unfortunately, he was a statistic. So, we know about the benefits that veterans get, but my question to you is in reference to the Social Security $255 benefit for burial. He wasn't married, and he has 2 children from 2 different relationships. So those mothers know to apply for Social Security disability benefits, and also through the VA at the same time, and also to get their medical insurance. But I want to know what the process is to get the $255 for the burial expenses.
Okay. That paltry $255. Yeah, it's embarrassing. So unfortunately, it's not going to go to you. It goes to the spouse, the current married spouse. Sometimes it even doesn't go to you if you've been, estranged, not living together, because it's supposed to go for your, for the person's burial. And it sounds like you're paying for it, but it will go to, it's if the children have already filed for surviving child benefits, it's already been paid out. The children already got it. And you want to hear the crazy part about it? Is because there's 2 children, then the Social Security employee that adjudicated that claim, I know because I've done this tens of thousands of times, had to divide that $255 by 2. So each child gets half of that $255. If you got 10 children, you have to divide it by 10. It's crazy, but that's the situation. And obviously $255 doesn't do anything. That's why my son and I partnered with, if you're looking to cover more of your actual burial, then you can reach out to our new partner, David Dufort in Final Expense Burial Insurance, and give them a call, and they can see if burial insurance, and if you call them up and then they help you out, then they throw us a couple of dollars, and that helps pay for the website and all the other free stuff we provide here. So we appreciate all y'all's support on all that. Okay, let's see what, I think we got a couple more questions here.
Hello, Ed. My name is Charles. I'm in California. My wife passed away last September, and we had started a claim for her ex-husband's benefits. We didn't know he had even passed away. She lost out on almost 10 years of his benefits, and they awarded me, or her, or us, a victory for 6 months back payment. And we lost out on 10 years, and nobody ever constructively notified us. And my wife had severe dementia, so when I met her, I had no idea, and we never kept in touch with her ex-husband. Yet I could really use that back pay that we missed out on, and they never constructively notified us. And they say in their own outgoing message that they keep tabs with other organizations and stuff so this type of thing doesn't happen, but they make it very difficult for us to know what the rules and regulations are. I had no idea she was I'm not entitled to any of her benefits, but apparently because his benefits were more than hers, she was entitled to his, and she didn't know that. She didn't.
Okay. All right. So she was entitled to benefits, it sounds like, because she remarried after the age of 60 or whatever the case may be, but she was entitled to benefits because they gave her 6 months of benefits. Okay. So she was eligible. She got her benefits. It's just the retroactive. They went to the standard 6 months, it sounds like, which is kind of the default 6 months retroactivity back pay. But what a lot of Social Security employees don't know is that on those particular situations, you might be able to, I don't think you're going to get the 10 years unless there was some type of protective filing or something. But you need to ask them about that, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But it's probably more the case you might be able to get 2 years, so an extra year and a half. And how that works is exactly for these situations that you weren't aware that that person passed away. Social Security was obviously, if they pass away in the United States, then the coroners or the contact the funeral home contacts the state contacts Social Security and everything, and Social Security knows about it, and they should have done the right thing by contacting her and giving that information that she might be eligible if she had told them when she filed that she was married to someone. But there is in that 20,000 pages of policy, there is a policy that in a situation like this, they should be able to pay you at least 2 years back. Okay. So again, go onto my website or go onto SSA.gov. It doesn't matter which one you go to, and just download that form, the SSA 561, the request for reconsideration. And you just put in your name, your Social Security number, her Social Security number, if you still remember it, and just put down there, according to policy, it should get 2 years back. And this will go to essentially her estate, and you're in charge of her estate. And as long as that bank account is still open and stuff, it'll be deposited in there if they go ahead and approve it. So this one, I would. You need to go to the next level and get a technical expert, and hopefully they will know that there is 2 years of retroactivity that are eligible to be paid here. So, and then in terms of the protective filing going back 10 years, if it's probably gonna be tough on this one, but I've had many situations here. We found a lot of money for people. If you went into an example, you went into a Social Security office 5 years ago and you were told X, Y, and Z, and it turns out X, Y, and Z was 100% wrong, and you should have started your benefits at that time, you're protected. Your filing date is protected for that day you walked in and got misinformation. So later on, you file this request for reconsideration and said, hey, you started my benefits today, but I came in 5 years ago and I was told incorrectly. If I was told correctly at that time, then I would have been getting benefits the entire time, and they better go back and pay you that. If they don't, then you fight all the way. And unfortunately, sometimes So it takes a little bit of time. It takes several levels, but hey, it's your money. So the first level is the request for reconsideration, and then you can, with the administrative law judge is the next one. Let me check to make sure the link still works. Yep, there it is right there. Request for a hearing with the administrative law judge. And then you got level 3 where you can file an appeals council review. And then the fourth one is a federal court. And the fifth one is obviously the Supreme Court. So fight, 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 fight. It's your money. You need to get it if you need it and you're eligible. Okay, we got one last video question here.
Hi, Dr. Ed. Thank you so much for the service you provide. It's a great service that so many people I know. I'm Don from Arkansas. I'm 70 years old. I applied for my Social Security benefit and went to the office, received a benefit matrix showing my DRC PIA amount, which is what I was expecting to be able to get, and did the application call. And I've just received my notice of award, and it was only for my full retirement PIA, not my, delayed retirement credits. And so I went back into the office, and they really couldn't explain why I'm not getting the full DRC amount. They think it might have something to do with my SSDI that I received, in my early years. So they think it might be still under processing to get the other full amount, and they just started it up with the PIA. But there's no indication in my award that is happening. So I think is my only recourse to file a appeal. And with the appeal, it's got all kinds of information about a representative and forms and letters. If that's the case, can you recommend, if that's the case, what I really need to do? Do I need to go see a lawyer to get this approved and to make sure that I am, by their word, doing something to appeal it within 60 days, or else I guess it's not going to be touchable. So please give me something that I need to do to get this straightened out. If you
Okay, all right, yeah, this is a relatively easy one, and particularly if Social Security had employees. And okay, so here's the deal. It sounds like yeah, possibly because you were on Social Security benefits earlier, the MBR, which is the one Elon Musk and everybody doesn't look at, because that's where the master beneficiary record, that's where actually money comes from. They look at some place over here that money doesn't come from, so it's crazy. Anyway, but your MBR, your master beneficiary record, is messed up because of that early period of entitlement. So no problem whatsoever, no problem. So they pushed the button and they didn't include your delayed retirement credits. So they just need, it sounds like they realized the fact, and now it's in the processing center, which there used to be processing centers. I just talked to the guy who was in charge of the West Coast Processing Center. There's 9 of these regional processing centers throughout the country. I was just talking to an old buddy a couple of days ago that was in charge of the West Coast one, and it's pretty much gone. Elon Musk and Doge, vacated the premises, let's say. So under normal circumstances, then they would go through there and they'd rebuild your MBR, it's called, and make everything right and get you your delayed retirement credits. But because there's essentially nobody there, then it's going to be tough. So they're probably trying to find someone to reconstruct your account and make it correct. So in terms of the appeal, the original letter that went out, it sounds like they recognize that that's not correct and they're trying to fix it. So I don't think you necessarily need an appeal. You can if you want. It's super easy. I did the explanation on the request for reconsideration for you. Super easy. Name, and then, hey, I should get DRCs. That's it. And then send it in. And that way, if you feel better that you appealed. But I don't think it's going to make a difference, because it sounds like they know where they messed up, where it's messed up. So I would just make sure it doesn't get lost in the sofa. Sorry, JD fans. In the cushions there, that it doesn't fall through the cracks. Because again, normally they would send it up to the regional processing center and they would be taken care of. But those don't exist anymore thanks to Musk and the current administration. So your case might be floating out there for a while. So what I would do in this particular case, I would consider reaching out to your politician, one of your two senators, the one that goes to Washington, not the one that goes to your state capital, to your federal ones, U.S. Congress people. And then you can call them up and tell them the situation, or you can go onto their website and it's got a little button that says, I need help with a federal agency. And then you tell them, hey, they miscalculated my benefits. I should get DRCs. They said they're working on it, but I needs my money. So that will expedite everything, turn it into a congressional, and hopefully you'll get your money. And one of the things that on delayed retirement credits, for partial years, like if you're 70 in July, sometimes you get all your delayed retirement credits up until December of the previous year, and the computer system doesn't add the last 6 months until January. You'll still get it. You'll still get the back pay and stuff like that. But sometimes, just kind of, I want you to be aware that you'll say, wait, okay, I got it, but it's 3, 4, 6 months short. That's usually the case, and then the computer system will catch up with itself, and then they'll pay it by the end of the year, January the following year. So, but same thing. Monitor that to make sure you do get the full delayed retirement credits. Okay, I think we are over our hour, and I apologize for all the people I did not get to your question. As you can see, we love video questions. I think I got all the video questions answered. So if you have a video question, please ask. If you have a comment, someone said that everything I say is said as BS. Please make a video comment and tell me exactly, did you mean BS in the sense of I do have an awesome set of hair? Is that one of the things I said that was BS? Okay, in my own mind, I agree with you. But anyway, I'm delusional like that. But whatever else you disagree with, please make a video comment. You don't have to give me your name. You can hide your face or whatever the case may be. And you can say, no, here is why I disagree with you about the 275,000 or the EVerify or whatever the case may be, please. And I will retort. And if you are correct, I will say I'll be a man about it. Unlike Elon. Come on, Elon, join me and let's talk. Yeah, so there's that. Y'all have an awesome night, and please, 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 please take care of each other. Bye-bye.